Hi. So I've got my Suraya Kazi on and I've had my coffee and I want to have a conversation that is between us, Kenyan to Kenyan. And this is about the sort of ignorance and bile we display when we don't think through the sort of stuff we say. I'm going to take us back to 2017 and then back to 2010. In 2017, KTB, Magical Kenya, appointed and announced Eddie Kenzo, Ugandan, as a Magical Kenya ambassador.
Where do you find this? Where do you find that? Only in Kenya, my friend.
And we went through this nonsense again where we just did this spewing of bile, seeped completely in ignorance. At the time, I remember that I was a judge on Blaze Be Your Own Boss with King Kaka. And I remember I saw his tweet and I took offense because I don't care how dumb somebody is, but when you know me, I can't allow you to be ignorant in public. And I told him, for the same reason that very year, and I could be wrong, that Sauti Sol had actually shot an amazing promotional video for South Africa tourism, is by the same science and logic and thinking that Magical Kenya had picked an icon from a market that does actually pretty well for us, which is Uganda. Please look at the numbers, and appointed Eddie Kenzo. When South African tourism was looking for icons for Kenya to sell their product, they picked Sauti Sol. You didn't bitch about that. And you didn't see South Africans go on Twitter to say, why is Sauti Sol talking about our country? Because you've got to engage this first. Let me take you back to 2010. In the lead up to the World Cup in 2010, which actually SATB, because they were SATB at the time, marketed as the African World Cup, I worked for SATB. My point of contact then was a gentleman called Pumi Ndolomo. Hey, Pumi. And in all the time I was there, I mean, every article I filed for the Star at the time was written for South Africa, but from my view. And I remember I was in South Africa, probably this was my third visit for Indaba. And Najib was there, but it was quite the coup at the time because Indaba is not open to non-SADC countries. And we actually got to be able to be at Indaba. So I remember the Serena was there. I remember Sarova was there because I met Jimmy Kariuki. Najib himself was there. Obviously, I couldn't do any work with the Kenyan team because I was working at the behest of South African tourism. Right? Right. Fast forward to people who use social media to try and educate you. Shiro Moriuki, yesterday on Facebook, said probably the smartest thing anybody could. She said, do you remember when you couldn't open YouTube without seeing those Visit Dubai ads? I remember watching one with Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Hudson, Zoe Saldana, a couple of basketball players, a few Nigerian icons. Remember then? And these days it's Steve Harvey and Marjorie Harvey. She said, I suppose their secret Emirati citizenships qualified them to make those ads? Are we so ignorant we don't get it? And then why do we display our ignorance so boldly and loudly and then coat it with a little bit of bile and arrogance to boot? Why? I mean, how ignorant are you that you sat back and you watched, this was a couple of years ago, if you watched Sex and City, the movie, that was a 90-minute commercial for Abu Dhabi. If you watched Tom Cruise on Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, that was a Burj Khalifa ad. We don't get it. And then we don't get it, and then we want to be arrogant about it, and then lace it with a bit of hate. Really? Let me come to Naomi Campbell. I have never met her. In 2019, I was probably 10 people away from her because I was at Kwitizina in Rwanda. the gorilla naming ceremony. One day I will tell you how you name a gorilla. And she was part of the team that was there, including Neo, as namers. The whole gorilla naming ceremony is a story I'd love to tell really well. But just know this. The Rwandan conservation conversation is also carried through people like Naomi. Okay? But leave Rwanda aside because, as Shiro said, and I guess Arsenal is a Rwandan football club because they do tell you to visit Rwanda on their shirts, right? Right, okay. Naomi is a friend of Kenya. I think as far back as when we just came out of our madness in 2008, Naomi was here. Naomi comes here annually. And unlike most people, she doesn't hide. From the moment she lands, she tweets. She puts something up. And she's usually at, she must be at Beatore's place. I went once, can't afford it, never been back. I mean, it's beautiful. Lying in the sun. He's got an amazing resort and she's usually in Malindi. But in 2013, I believe Naomi was here. She's a friend of Kenya. She actually loves this country genuinely. Either that or she likes Beatore very much and she visits his resort the minute the rest of the world gets cold. But how we have reacted to this international icon who has consistently picked this country. Yes, she goes to the billionaire resort in Malindi, but has never been, no, don't picture me in Kenya. No, you cannot put up my stuff. No, you can't do this. She's not that person. We need to be ashamed of ourselves. We really do. Magical Kenya, well done. I hope you can find more icons that continue to sell the brand we have at a premium and not bring it down, because that's what we want. We want a premium tourism market, and we have wonderful outlets. You guys have no idea. If I started listing them, you'd weep. But I want to stay with this. If you don't understand, ask, but don't display your ignorance boldly and loudly on social media and add hate to it. The world doesn't need your crap right now. And Naomi is owed an apology by every single person who acted like, why her? Why not? If nothing else, she has been a true friend of this country. And she has never not put it out there every time she's here. She's good for us and she means well for us. What's your problem? What's your problem? I'll never be a brand ambassador for Kenya. Yes, I can do domestic, but for the numbers we need, for heaven's sake. And if you don't get it, sit down. No, sit down. Wear a mask, clean your hands, and if you can, sanitize your thinking.